Well, hello there. My name is Christopher Scott, and I serve as a small groups pastor at a local church. And in this video, I want to give you a brief 5-minute introduction to the book of 1 Thessalonians. In this video, I'm going to talk about 6 things. I'm going to talk about the author of the book, the audience he was writing to, the date the book was written. I'm going to give you an outline of the book, a key verse, and a key theme of the book. So 6 basic elements to give you a little understanding of 1 Thessalonians before you study it and read it on your own, okay? So first thing, the author of the book of 1 Thessalonians is the Apostle Paul. We know that from 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 1. He says this is from Paul, from Timothy, and from Silas, right? And he writes that this letter, this author, Paul, writes to the believers in Thessalonica. He had visited them and spent about 2 to 3 weeks there with them, doing ministry with them. You can read about that in Acts 17, verses 1 through 4, okay? So that's the audience or the author of the book of 1 Thessalonians. Now let me tell you about the audience. Like I mentioned, Paul had been there for 3 Sabbaths, 3 Sabbath days, so probably 2 to 3 weeks he was there, maybe a little longer, a little shorter, just depends how you count those Sabbaths. And it was a city that was somewhat pagan, and they had a lot of things going on there. So he wanted to encourage them in their faith and keep them going and make sure they weren't walking away from their faith because of some of the suffering that they had gone through, okay? And so that's what pretty much the letter is about. So Paul, thinks that maybe they're struggling with their faith, so he sends Timothy to find out. Timothy goes there, then comes back to Paul, gives Paul the good report that these people are standing strong in their faith, even though they've had to go through suffering. So then Paul writes this letter to the believers in Thessalonica, giving them praise for the things that they're doing well, and then pushing them to keep their faith strong, okay? And the date the book was written was in 51 AD, roughly right in there, or between 50 and 52 AD. Paul wrote it while he was in Corinth. He spent 18 months in Corinth. You can read about that in Acts chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. So he spent 18 months in Corinth there, and that's when he wrote this letter back to Thessalonica in about 51 AD, roughly in there. And to give you some context, Jesus died and was resurrected in about 30 to 36 AD, right in there. Paul died in about 65 AD, and that's also about the time when Matthew, Mark, and Luke wrote their Gospels in the mid-60s, and then John wrote the Gospel of John in 90 AD, and the book of Revelation was the last book of the Bible written in 95 AD. So Thessalonians is probably one of the first books written. Usually Galatians and James are the first 2 books of the New Testament that were written down, and then 1 Thessalonians is probably second or third in there as well. So this is really early on in the history of the church that we get to read about the things going on in people's faith. Now I want to give you an outline for the book of 1 Thessalonians. I'm using this from Warren Wiersbe's commentary, Be Ready, Living in Light of Christ's Return. This is a great commentary, and there also is a really good Bible study he has written. I'll put links down there below if you want to get the commentary or the Bible study and use them in your own group there. Just great resources. They are affiliate links, so if you click on something and purchase them from Amazon, I do get an affiliate commission, just so you know, a small percentage. So, an outline for the book. Wiersbe outlines Thessalonians 1, 2, and 3 about Paul remembering, right? Paul remembers their faith and what they're going through and how they've done a good job. And then chapters 4 and 5, Paul exhorts. He encourages them to keep living rightly, to keep living in the righteous way, and to stay on the right path, staying away from sin, being kind to one another, and loving one another. The key verse for the book is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 9 and 10. Wiersbe actually provides 2 key verses. And that reads from the New Living Translation, For God chose to save us through our Lord Jesus Christ, not to pour out his anger on us. For Christ died for us so that, whether we are dead or alive, when he returns, we can live with him forever. Okay, so that's the key verse of the book. And the key theme is the coming of Christ for the church and the day of the Lord. The coming of Christ for the church and the day of the Lord. So I hope this was a helpful video for you, a brief introduction to the book of 1 Thessalonians. It's only 5 chapters. I encourage you to read it and go through it on your own. Thanks for watching this video. If you found this video helpful, you can subscribe up there and get updates on future videos. If you want to learn to use the Wiersbe Bible Study Guide and lead a small group through 1 Thessalonians, I got a how-to video up there. If you want other brief 5-minute introductions to books of the Bible, there's some of my more popular videos. I got that playlist over there and some other small group facilitator tips over there. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you again soon on another video.